All right, welcome. Today we're diving into something that's, well, pretty much invisible, but it powers our entire world. Energy economics. You could say it's the story of the engine that runs everything. So, let's get into it. So think about this for a second. Have you ever really wondered what happens when you flip a light switch? You probably don't give it a second thought. But there's this invisible thread that connects that one simple action to global politics, to international trade, to the health of our entire economy. It's a direct line, and it's way more powerful than you might think. Well, that invisible line, that's basically what energy economics is all about. At its core, it's a field that gives us the tools, the framework, to understand the incredibly complex web of how we get energy and how we use it. It's the lens through which we can start to make sense of the huge forces that shape our world, from the price you pay for gas to the future of our climate. Now, you might think this is some old, dusty field of study that's been around for centuries, but you'd be wrong. Energy economics wasn't born in a quiet library. It was forged in fire, born out of a massive global crisis that absolutely shocked the world and changed everything. So, before the 1970s, sure, people studied energy, but it wasn't really its own thing. And then, bam, the 1973 oil shock hits. Prices for oil just went through the roof, sending these devastating shockwaves ripping through the global economy. All of a sudden, you had massive lines at gas stations, factories shutting down. It was a real wake-up call for the entire world. And right out of that chaos, energy economics became a critical, recognized field, born from the urgent need to figure this whole energy thing out. So, born from that crisis, what does this field actually look at today? Well, the scope is just massive. It covers this huge range of issues that honestly affect every single one of us. I mean, we're talking about the whole shebang. Energy economists are digging into everything from the nitty-gritty details of market rules to the huge, huge global challenges of climate change. They're analyzing how we keep our energy supply secure, that fundamental link between energy and the economy, and the mind-boggling costs of building the pipes, wires, and power plants that our civilization runs on. And if you boil all of that down, all those different topics, it really comes down to one simple but incredibly powerful truth. The energy sector is complex. Okay, that might sound obvious, right? But understanding why it's so complex, that is the absolute key to grasping why this all matters so much. And the good news is, we can actually break this down. It's not some unknowable mystery. There are really 4 big reasons it's so complicated. So let's walk through them, because once you see these, the whole picture starts to make a lot more sense. Just 4 key factors. But once you get them, the puzzle of the energy sector really starts to click into place. Let's dive in. All right, reason number 1, this stuff is super technical. To get the economics of energy, you can't just be an economist. You also have to understand the science, the engineering, the geology behind it. Think about it. How can you talk about the profitability of a gas well if you don't understand the geology of the rock and the engineering of fracking? You just can't. The two are completely tied together. Second, and this is a big one, there is no magic bullet here. No one-size-fits-all approach works. The economics of drilling for oil miles under the ocean are just profoundly different from building a massive solar farm in the desert. And that's totally different from operating a nuclear power plant. Each one is its own unique beast, with its own costs, its own challenges, and its own market. Third, and this is where it really hits home for all of us, the societal impact is just immense. I mean, energy isn't like a new phone or a fancy car. It's not a luxury. It's the essential ingredient for almost everything we do. Its cost and its availability affect your family's budget, a company's bottom line, and even a country's national security. That's why it's always at the center of political fights, right? Because it affects absolutely everyone. And finally, number 4, the energy sector is this crazy web of interactions happening on all these different levels at the exact same time. You've got international agreements, national laws, and even local community meetings, and they all influence each other. A global climate treaty can literally impact a local town's decision about whether or not to approve a new wind farm. It's all connected, from the very top to the very bottom. So you take those 4 things together, the technical nature, the unique industries, the massive societal impact, and all those layers of interaction, and what you get is this deep, powerful relationship, this dance, really, between energy and the economy. The key idea to hold on to here is mutual interdependence, and that sounds a bit academic, but all it really means is that this is not a one-way street, it's a two-way relationship. The economy and the energy sector depend on each other completely. Let's break that down. So, on one hand, you have the economy fueling the energy sector. Think about it. To produce energy, you need massive amounts of steel for pipelines, complex machinery for wind turbines, huge transportation networks to move fuel, and, of course, a ton of skilled people. The energy industry can't exist in a vacuum. It needs all the other parts of our economy just to function. And then, of course, you've got the other side of that coin, the one we all feel every day. The energy sector powers the economy. It is the literal lifeblood. Nothing happens without it. Manufacturing, agriculture, technology, finance, all of it grinds to a halt without a steady supply of energy. So what's the big takeaway here? It's actually really simple, but it's so important. To understand our modern economy, you have to understand energy. Period. The two are so tangled up together that trying to separate them is simply impossible. They shape our world together. You know, it's pretty wild to think that this entire field was basically born out of the oil shock of the 1970s. So that leaves us with a really big question for today. As we live through this massive, once-in-a-generation global energy transition, what's going to be the next shock that completely redefines this field all over again?